Straight after the break tonight, we'll have a brand new episode of Kent Film Club. The show's presenter, Chris Deacy, is here to give us an idea of what's to come. But before we talk about that, Chris, I want to reflect a little bit on that story. Because the theatre and the cinema, they have a similar link. Obviously, you've got the audience, you've got the kind of fourth wall there. I was just wondering, have you thought in recent times about some of those really prominent theatre adaptations that have turned into film?
And also the other way around, because I was just thinking, Groundhog Day, brilliant film, has been made into a musical.
Yes.
So, of course, it's the film that you could never actually remake because the whole point is that the film itself is the sequel. So what a brilliantly inventive way of putting it on stage and letting it have an afterlife that way. But, of course, the obvious answer to your question is Mamma Mia.
Yes. Of course. No, I think Mamma Mia is one that's definitely loved in the newsroom. We're constantly playing music like that. So now let's talk about this summer's films coming out. We've got the Wolverine and Deadpool film. Now, is this going to save the kind of summer blockbusters, or are people kind of getting a bit bored, let's say, of the superhero film?
Well, to be honest, tonight I'm going to see Twisters for the second time this week.
Right.
Not because it's an amazing film, but because the first one came out 28 years ago this week. I'm not actually sure whether Twisters is a remake or a sequel, but Wolverine and Deadpool, I think that the fact that they've put them together shows that it could be seen as a sort of a smack of desperation, or it could be a creative way forward. I kind of think that we're maybe hitting the end of the road as far as that type of film is concerned, and I will watch it, but I think there are so many different types of films out at the moment, including, of course, the children's films with Despicable Me 4 and Inside Out 2, then I think that there's a lot of choice for people. Some very good art house films, including a lot of films actually from the African continent as well, which are doing the rounds in cinemas across Kent.
Lots of well-known characters kind of coming back as well. OK, let's talk about the film club this evening. Who have we got on? So
we have Julie Wassemer, who is a brilliant screenwriter. She's worked for London's Burning and for EastEnders, and Whitstable Pearl, which of course is doing the rounds at the moment on You. Now, she has chosen some classics, including The Man Who Fell to Earth and The Italian Job. Now, she is a wonderful raconteur. She has some wonderful stories, including her encounters with some of the people behind those films. So it's an absolute watch tonight.
It's interesting when you talk to people who are storytellers themselves, appreciating other stories. Do you find that with those conversations you kind of get a different perspective?
Well, when I met Julie, I think she was thinking, you know, all these films to talk about, but it was the impact on her life. So she talks beautifully about the films. If you haven't seen any of these films or haven't watched them in many years, as in my case, I hadn't seen The Man Who Fell to Earth in decades, but she brought it all back. She's a great storyteller. Of course, that's also her craft. But when she's talking about the films, there's a perfect mixture of the personal, the autobiographical, and the film about which she's talking. So it's a wonderful interplay.
Fantastic. We'll be watching it straight after the break this evening. Thank you very much, Chris.